Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Green Dot Daily, live every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. I'm Charlie DiSturco, and coming up on the show, we're going to talk NHL playoffs. They're in full force, and we've got 4 Game 5s on the ice tonight. Tim Kalinowski and Andy MacNeil join me to break down which of the 4 they think can come back from that 3-1 deficit. But we start on the hardwood and in the NBA playoffs. And the Denver Nuggets closing out a gentleman's sweep on Monday night is likely the story entering today against the Lakers. Could we call it the closest 5-game series yet? Possibly. The Denver Nuggets move on to face the Timberwolves and are minus 115 to win the Western Conference as a whole. Could a repeat be on the horizon for Jokic and company? As we welcome in Jay Money to talk a little Nuggets before we get your best bet for tonight. The Lakers, they led a half in every single game against the Denver Nuggets. They lose 4 of the 5, 2 of which at Jamal Murray's expense, the late buzzer beater shot. Is there any team that you think can beat the Nuggets? And if so, who?
Yeah, I think the Nuggets have kind of been messing around here, man. They better not do that with the Minnesota Timberwolves because this team is really deep. They're very balanced on both sides of the basketball as well, talking about offensively and defensively. They have an MVP caliber player in Anthony Edwards. They got a defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert as well, great bench. So, in my opinion, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves have the best chance at beating the Denver Nuggets in the West. Like I said, they have the number 1 defense as well. They have the size, they have the depth, and that's one thing the Lakers didn't have. They didn't really have size to pair with going up against Aaron Gordon and Jokic, where the Timberwolves have Karl-Anthony Towns, they have Nasreen and Rudy Gobert as well. So I think they can really make it tough on this Nuggets potent offense, in my opinion. So don't be a bit surprised that the Timberwolves were able to give the Nuggets a run for their money.
Yeah, also, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns for a second against the Timberwolves. Me and you were talking off air about them, and just, you have 3 superstars. You can't even win a game. I don't know if it's more on the Suns' part or more on the Timberwolves, how good they are and how well they're just in stride right now. I'm assuming you think it's more of how well Anthony Edwards and the team as a whole are playing on the Minnesota side.
Yeah, the Wolves are one of the best teams in the league, man. There's not many teams that can really match up with this team, in my opinion. So, like I say, when you have an MVP caliber player
Yeah.
like Anthony Edwards out there, and you have the defense to go behind it to pair with the offense here, so yeah, I do think the Timberwolves really have a chance to come out of the Western Conference and possibly make it to the finals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially, given the Nuggets have not made it look pretty, I should say, against the Lakers. They've relied on a lot of late shot making, despite Jokic being a walking triple double. But I do want to, move our attention away from this Western Conference series and over to the East. There's a game tonight that you have circled and it's the Cavaliers and the Magic 2-2 series right now. The Cavs are 5-point favorites. And, I think you might have given it around with your background, but where are you looking for your best bet?
I got to rock with the Cavs in this particular spot, man. They've led the first half in every single 3 of the 4 games in this series. Even did it on Game 4 in Orlando as well, where the Cavs haven't really played their best basketball on the road. In 2 games at the house, they didn't trail the game at any point. So they led the game for every single second of the game in Games 1 and Game 2. This is a bounce back spot for the Cavs as well, coming off 2 blowout losses in Orlando. The Cavs play a lot better basketball at the house. I know that Jared Allen popped up on the injury report, but the Cavs know that this is a huge series for them, for their franchise as well. They have to get out of the first round of playoffs this year, especially how they got smacked last year versus the Knicks, man. So this is a huge game, the pivotal Game 5 as well. I'm rocking with the Cavs here in the first half. I do think they get it done in the full game as well, but I do like them a little bit more. My better play is for them to come out early with determination, with desperation, and an absolute must-win game. And we know role players play a lot better at the house as well. So this could be the old J Money trifecta spot here where they come out and cover the first quarter, first half, and full game. I expect them to lead from start to finish, but I will go with Cavs first half -2.5 for my play.
Yeah, the extra motivation here. And the Magic, obviously, they're 29-12 at home during the regular season, 5 games under on the road. So definitely a spot where the Magic don't play up to, as you mentioned, role players tend to play up at home. That's great news for the Cavs. I love this spot. And, even in that last game where the Cavs got blown out in the second half against the Magic, that was a first half win for them and one that they played extremely well for the first, 2 quarters. So very interesting look here. Love it. Hopefully Donovan Mitchell doesn't just go AWOL like he did in the second half of last game. J Money, Best of luck tonight on the action, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I need all the look I can get.
Yeah, go Cavs. There's another Eastern Conference game in play tonight. So here's a clip from our Buckets podcast where Matt Moore breaks down the Knicks and 76ers.
No picks on Sixers Knicks.
Terrified.
I lean Sixers because this should not keep happening to them, but I'm not going to bet it because it keeps happening to them. Just like grab a rebound. Although I will say, just real quick on Sixers Knicks with the rebounding thing, if you go, I've got an article on Action Network. I'm doing basically running down all the playoff stuff you need to know. Check it out in the app. One of the things I did was like I linked to all the offensive rebounds. You can watch them. These were not normal offensive rebounds. The Knicks are an awesome offensive rebounding team anyway. Like they dominate. It's absolutely on them. Heart, hustle, all that thing. However, like some of this was like they missed a shot so badly it bounced off the backboard right into a guy that was cutting towards the rim's hands. And then like taking a baseline jumper, which should go to the other side. Kyle Lowry goes to the other side because he's like, oh, this is the normal trajectory of a shot. Nope. Bounces straight middle. Just like carom straight middle into a guy's hands. One landed off the rim. Josh Hart and Kelly Oubre were tangled up basically in a wrestling hold. It flies right at Josh Hart's shoulder, which he just like taps up into the air for a tap back. Like the offensive rebounds were insane in that game. Anyway, no picks on that game. There's voodoo happening. I don't know. I give up. The Knicks are probably gonna make the conference finals.
And now over to the NHL, and there are 4 series that have the opportunity to be closed out tonight in a Game 5. Carolina remains the heavy favorites over the Islanders as they look to surge into that second round matchup against the Rangers. Can Boston put to rest potential deja vu after blowing last year's 3-1 lead and close it out at home in Game 5 against the Maple Leafs? They're minus 150 on the money line. As we welcome in Tim Kalinowski and Andy MacNeil to talk more about these Game 5s on tap. Obviously, guys, the Avalanche have looked a lot better than the Jets with a 3-1 lead mounted up, but the Vancouver Canucks, kind of like the Denver Nuggets, they're up 3-1, should be down 3-1. They also have the opportunity to close out the series tonight against the Nashville Predators. But Andy, I'll start with you first. We saw Boston last season. They lost that 3-1 lead against Florida. In the grand scheme of sports, a 3-1 lead is something that is extremely rare and difficult, I would say, and there's no denying that. So can you just take us through the historical data on the matter, how one could maybe bet into it if they think that, say one of these 3-1 underdogs is actually live?
Yeah, so historically, there have been 339 instances where a team has been up 3-1 in an NHL playoff series. The team that's up 3-1 has gone on to win over 90% of the time. They are 307-32 all time. However, it's happened at least once in 4 out of the last 5 playoffs, each time in the first round. In 2019, the Sharks defeated the Vegas Golden Knights. 2 years later, Montreal defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were up 3-1. The Rangers defeated the Penguins in 22, up 3-1 or down 3-1, sorry. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the Boston Bruins, the President's Trophy winning Boston Bruins, up 3-1 against the Florida Panthers, eventually losing that series in 7 games. Looking at the current series prices for these matchups, I've got to look and I've taken a look, and I think that the money line rollover is actually the best approach here. So if you like one of these teams, say a Toronto, for example, their series odds are roughly 740 right now, plus 740. But if you just bet them on the money line in each game and rolled over your stake plus your or winnings plus your initial stake, I think that's going to equal a much larger payout at the end of the day if they do manage to win 3 games in a row and win the series.
Sometimes it's, not bet easier and just place a series line, go game by game, do the money line rollover. I know in an NCAA tournament, that's a pretty popular play as well. You can get more value, so to speak. Tim, also just real quick, check in. You're the resident Bostonian in this trio here. The Bruins blew that 3-1 lead last year. What's the sentiment around Boston right now with this 3-1 lead over the Leafs?
The sentiment is same old Leafs. This series feels like more about the team up north than it has been about Boston. And, the Bruins, a lot was made about did the Bruins purposely lose some games at the end of their season in order to make sure that they drew Toronto. And I think that's a dangerous game to play personally. And I don't know if they in fact actually did that. Were they comfortable with the Leafs matchup? I would say they were. But I was someone who thought that every dog has its day and the Leafs would be able to give the Bruins a little more run for their money than they are right now. So there's a lot of confidence in Boston right now. And again, it really has more to do with the opponent than their team.
Yeah, never able to get over the hump right now, but I do want to get your guys' picks before we get into games for tonight's slate. If you had to pick a 3-1 underdog, or I guess a team that's down 1-3 in the series, who are you picking to pull off this upset? Andy, you go first.
For me, it's the Nashville Predators, and I hope I'm not stealing one from Timmy here because I know he's been a big Preds fan all series long. But yeah, they've just got the best chance. Of course, Vancouver is on their third goaltender in just 4 games, and Nashville could presumably be facing off against a third string goaltender again in Game 5. The Preds, I think, have been the better team in 3 out of the 4 games. Probably fair to say this series should be tied 2-2, if not see Nashville up 3-1 right now. But instead, the Canucks have had all the luck. And the Preds haven't gotten much, but I still think that Nashville is in the best position to come back out of all these teams.
Yeah, Nashville slight underdogs tonight, and you look at their 2 home games. They lose 2-1 to Vancouver. They outshot them 30-12. Then, pour one out for Timmy. I know he had Nashville money line on Sunday. Probably the worst beat of the season, or at least the postseason. Up 3-1 in the final 3 minutes. 2 goals, and then a goal literally in the first minute and a half of overtime. At least it was, a quick and easy death, not a slow burn death for you, Tim. But you're 3-1 underdog that you think has a chance to pull it off.
Yeah, Charlie, thanks for continuing to remind me that. I was told like, hey, today's a new day. That was yesterday. And I thought Tuesday would really be a new day. And we're still reminding me of this. But I guess my first choice would be Nashville. But for the sake of the show here, I'll go with Toronto. Look, if you look at the 5-on-5 numbers, the Bruins are only outscoring the Leafs 7-6, 5-on-5. To me, the story has been the Leafs power play incompetence. If they just had a somewhat pedestrian power play the rest of the way here, I think it would, do wonders for them. And, you have to get a free one. You have to get one of the easy ones, especially when you have that star power that Toronto has. They're 1 for 14 on the power play in this series. That is 14th amongst playoff teams. And just a reminder,
it's garnering a lot of criticism for his performance. And, Andy, I saw you have a bra moment, almost fell off the screen, maybe broke your chair for a second. You're not even close to backing the Maple Leafs.
No, well, I might not be a resident Bostonian, but I am a Boston fan. And I think that the Bruins have just gotten better and better defensively in this series. And I agree with the points that Timmy made. The Maple Leafs power play, even if it was just a little bit good in this series, they would not be down 3-1 right now. But yeah, Boston has gotten better and better defensively each and every game. And in Game 4, they held the Maple Leafs to just 1.7 expected goals, according to Evolving Hockey. So that was just a really strong performance. And I'd like to think that they'd put forth a similar performance at home tonight in Game 5.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. And we don't have any picks on that for tonight, but we do have picks on the 2 late games. And Andy, you'll start first. 9:30 puck drop. Avalanche, Jets. The Avs are up 3-1, as we talked about earlier. They're slight favorites on the road. How are you approaching this matchup?
Well, Charlie, we talked before the playoffs started about how this was supposed to be one of the more closely matched series of the first round. Mm-hmm. It's been anything but. The Avs have outshot the Jets 153-104 in 4 games. They've outscored them 22-12. Of course, Connor Hellebuck, the Vezina Trophy frontrunner for the best goaltender in the NHL this season, hasn't been his fault solely, but he's allowed 4+ goals in each of the 4 games. Winnipeg's second line, Nito Niederreiter, Sean Monahan, and Tyler Toffoli, their big trade deadline acquisition, they've combined to score 1 goal. Nikolai Ehlers, who's playing probably too far down into the lineup, has scored just 1 goal. In fact, the Jets have gotten all their goals from just 8 players, so they aren't getting a lot of scoring throughout their lineup. Colorado, meanwhile, they're averaging 38 shots per game. They're scoring or generating 4.2 expected goals per game, and as I mentioned, they're scoring 4+ goals in every game. And talked to Michael Lieboff a little bit earlier today. He loves the look on the puck line. I like the team total as well, over 3.5 at +105 for the Avalanche.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The Jets had the slight edge in the regular season. The Avs It's also interesting. I feel like the empty net epidemic has been happening in the postseason a ton. A lot of easy goals coming in. So that's even a good look too. If the Avs leading 3-2 late or whatever it is, maybe they get an easy one on the back end there at plus money. Love that look there. Tim, you're also targeting a night game, the last one of the entire slate. Nashville Predators, Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks are slight favorites, and you are a glutton for pain, my friend, and like the Predators.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the Predators. I'm just betting the Predators again. Speaking of Leboff, Andy, he made a point on Line Change this week that it was really about, like, part of the handicap here is, can Nashville overcome that epic collapse? And my point was, as a bettor, can you overcome that epic collapse? If you had just bet on Nashville on Sunday. And look, I like the number. I'm going to go back to it again. If you just kind of squint one eye and try and forget what happened on Sunday, Andy said it, Nashville should at least be 2-2 in the series, or even up 3-1. 5-on-5, this series is 6-6. Same story as the Leafs, right? Predators are 1 for 15 on the power play. Again, if you can just be somewhat competent, that's how you can turn this series around. The Vancouver goaltending situation obviously has been well noted. Quinn Hughes has also been banged up in this series. His time on ice and early in that game, showed that he's ailing in some way. I know it's a Stanley Cup playoffs, but Hughes is, vitally important for that team. And away teams are 19-14 in the playoffs this year. I would say you can even make that number look a little better if you take away big favorites like the Rangers were at home and Carolina was at home against the Islanders. So yeah, the number says Nashville. I'll hold my nose and do it one more time.
One more time, possibly. Maybe again if they win again here. But, positive regression definitely on the horizon for a 1 for 15 on the power play. Pretty interesting stat, too, that stuck out was the away teams that you just mentioned, that they're actually above 500 in the postseason. I bet it with you, Tim. So hopefully we're not texting each other, freaking out when they blow another 3-1 lead late. But before I let you guys go, and Tim, I know you just did it on TikTok, on Action Network's TikTok account, about this. Dave & Buster's is allowing you to bet on games like Pop-A-Shot, Skee Ball. I mean, gut reaction off the rip, and then maybe I'll follow up real quick. Tim, I think this is very interesting. Are Dave & Buster's taking VIG is my real question.
Yeah, that is the question that has to be answered here. Is if you're betting $10 with your buddy, is it really 11 to win 10 because the dollar is going to the house? It's a great idea. Like, don't get me wrong. I guess like their stock does tremendously well. Like, they're innovative over there. But I'll just say this: like, number one, do we have to create this to guarantee exchange of money in hands because like friends aren't squaring up with each other? Like, you're a bad friend, I think that stuff is such karma. Like, what goes around comes around. I always bet on things with my buddies, whatever it is, cornhole, ping pong, and we always square up, because if you don't, like, you just have to wear that. And if what goes around comes around. So I think it's pretty pathetic as a society that we need to guarantee that people are going to pay out their bets.
Well, what if it's strangers? Like, what if I'm just at the bar and I see, like, last week I was in Chicago at an arcade bar, saw a guy playing Pop-A-Shot, and then we went back and forth against each other. How am I going to hold him accountable?
Okay, if you need to bet strangers and Pop-A-Shot, like, just please go do something else. Like, please go do something else. Like,
listen,
my goodness, go place a 10-leg parlay. Go place a 10-leg
Pac-Man was
parlay
taken,
on your
Tim.
couch. No, I have no time for arcades. I hate that stuff. So
yeah, you hate dogs, you hate arcades, you love betting the Predators when they blow up in their face. Andy, you were talking earlier about bringing your son to Dave & Buster's potentially when you come to the U.S. Unfortunately, it's 18 plus, so you can't have him bet against you, but you can have him watch you play in this Dave & Buster's as you square off against potentially strangers, unlike Tim, who refuses to go anywhere near him.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Listening to Timmy debate about whether we need this kind of safeguard for exchanging money between strangers, and I grew up in a place where we'd play street hockey and we'd put all the money in a hat, and the winner would get the pot. There was always somebody who tried to run away with that hat, though. So I am, I'm pretty hesitant to trust my fellow humans when it comes to squaring up.
I wholeheartedly agree. Tim's over there being a curmudgeon, but maybe we'll find out secretly on like a video that leaks that Tim's actually there betting strangers on Papa-Shot as he loses a lot of money after a bad Sunday. But Tim Kalinowski, Andy MacNeil, thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the hockey action, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Charlie.
And just a reminder that every pick we give out here on the show, you can easily reference on our action app at green.daily. We keep track so you don't have to. And that's going to be all for Green.Daily on this fine Tuesday. You all have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps. We'll be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. I'll talk to you soon.